What a week. And lots of moments that mattered. And the ones that moved the country, a lot of them did as well. The stories that were clipped, spun, or buried, and why they still matter now. No distractions, just the truth, without fear or favor, and what to do with it next. That's what this will do. Watch. I feel like people try to cover up their bias by, like Bill Ackman saying, I wanted to donate to the woman. Maybe he did. But how do you feel about this one thing that I've been talking about?
It's a tragedy, obviously at a number of levels. The race to sort of support the masked ICE agent who shot Renee Good in the face and killed her extrajudiciously because he apparently thought his life was in danger is, I find, flatly disgusting. I find that it's really gross for a lot of reasons. So yeah, Bill Ackman can't avoid making a bad decision.
Let me give you some context here. This will actually give the people back home a little bit of hope. So the guy who has him pulled over, so the guy in the white truck, that's the Trumper who's been harassing us. He's been driving by yelling obscenities and all kinds of things at us, lap after lap. The black vehicle, that's the Hennepin County Sheriff. Why the Hennepin County Sheriff? This is very important. So Hennepin County Sheriff came out here over the weekend and told all the protesters, we support your right to protest. We're on your side, essentially.
So there was a food desert, and there were still families that needed to eat, people that were in a pandemic needing diapers, needing to take care of their families. So we started a project called the Phillips Free Store with another organizer named Alex Gomez. And I was just helping out volunteering. I learned how to do that. And then when these needs popped up here with our neighboring business that started doing food distribution out of their empty kitchen because of their employees who were afraid to come to work due to ICE presence in Minneapolis.
The evidence of what happened there in Minneapolis on that sad day.
Yeah, I think Donald Trump is obviously looking to institute the largest mass deportation program in American history, and it's modeled after a 1954 program from Dwight D. Eisenhower with a name so racist, I don't say a period, I'm not gonna say it here, that deported 1 million Mexicans and Americans, Mexican Americans. And this program that he's instituting now, Tom Homan told me, borders are on the second day of the raids in LA, he thought someone was gonna die during all of this. And he was right. And in this 2025, 2026 iteration of this Dwight D. Eisenhower program, it's not just deportations of both immigrants and Americans. It is death of both immigrants and Americans.
I want to finish up with Minnesota because I want to show you what's happening in Minnesota. By the way, DOJ officials there are quitting over the Renee Good case. They're quitting because they are being asked to investigate it in a way that they don't believe is a fair way. The top DOJ officials quit after their division refused to probe Minnesota ICE shooting. At least 4 leaders of the Civil Rights Division resigned because the section's head, Harmet Dillon, decided not to investigate the shooting of Renee Good. Not to investigate it. When has anyone been shot and killed on a street in public with all the video and someone does not investigate? I want to read through this, okay? Like, what is going on here? At least 4 leaders of the Justice Department unit that investigates police killings have resigned in protest over the administration's handling of the fatal shooting of the motorist in Minneapolis by an immigration and customs enforcement officer. That's according to 3 people briefed on the departures.
No pun intended, fight fire with fire. That's the expression that he uses. It's what he used all through the Prop 50 fight, and he sees a common thread. And if and when, probably when he runs for president, I think he realizes that he needed to have a vibe shift of sorts in the fires because of the way that he was being attacked. He had talked about this personal relationship that he had with Trump, and even though it was publicly adversarial, privately, it was cordial. He hasn't talked to Trump since the ICE raid started in LA, he told me, when I saw him a couple weeks ago. And he said that he believes that the falling out was all around this. And by the way, he went to Washington. Trump refuses to give him more federal aid in the wake of the wildfire recovery because of this type of opposition that he's now doing, pushing back and standing up to Trump. I think that you can call it whatever you want, theatrical or, for a show, but he's saying it's principled and it's moral and it's the only way to push back during, whether it's just in the context of this new age of disaster and climate and wildfires and natural disasters, or any relations on the national stage in this moment that is so polarized.
Like, she's literally trying to manifest something into truth by just saying it repeatedly. It's a Trump rhetorical flourish. If you keep saying things over and over again, people will start to believe it. And yet it has nothing to do with the facts as we know them. And again, I think reasonable critical thinkers would watch this and say, like, holy shit, she looks like an automaton that are saying words that have nothing based in reality. And it's deeply unsettling. And, again, I think you'd probably know this. You've probably interviewed people who are like sort of pathologically lying. It's unnerving.
All
It's
the time.
unsettling.
It is.
And you get taken aback, like, wait, what? You're really saying that? And I think Jake was erring on the side of being respectful and cautious because he wants his show to be understandably a place for Trump administration. And I think it should be. I think CNN needs to have Trump officials on their network for this very reason, so that they can be held to account. Because if they only go on Fox News or Newsmax and conservative media, they're never going to get any tough questions. So I understand why Jake was perhaps a little cautious on this. I thought he did a very good job. She comes across as bonkers, batshit crazy.
What do you mean? You're not saying that they should pull their punches in order to keep access, are you?
No, not at all. What I mean is that they need to continue to have a dialogue with Trump administration officials. And when, we saw this during the first administration, when suddenly Trump pulled all of his surrogates from CNN, and it really, I thought, polluted the dialogue and the discourse, because suddenly they weren't being asked any tough questions.
Believing that they can just with impunity go out and kill people and not face accountability, I think has really woken people up. ICE is patrolling your neighborhood. They are stealing the data off of your phone. They are tracking you wherever you go. And I think the people who were previously shouting, "Don't tread on me," like, them being excised from social settings for sounding weird was a violation of their free speech, might hopefully be waking up to the fact that it is the right that wants to silence you, the right that wants to put a boot on your neck, the right that wants to patrol everything that you do, and they think they can do it with full impunity. So yeah, I think that's waking at least a couple of guys up who actually, if they do care about free speech and free expression, think this is bullshit.
Astute assessment, and what I liked is that you said, I hate it when people say this is not about politics. Everything's about politics, and when people say this is not about race, I'm like, everything's about race.
Let's be real, yeah.
And the government says it's because they're being doxxed and they fear, and there's been an increase in tax on agents, and that's their justification. But it just doesn't hold water. It doesn't stand up. Every police officer that you and I may have ever encountered or seen, have an ID, and their face is uncovered, and they're to protect and to serve, and they're proud of what they do. But with a secret police that's operating violently and unconstitutionally, it's not acceptable.
It's just this whole time, and I don't mean to be dramatic, but this entire time that I'm sitting here watching this, it's just, I want to just cry. Like every story that I hear, when I hear your story, and it just angers me so much. Robert,
let me interject for a moment. I don't want anybody to forget. It's bad enough, what's happening to protesters and so on. But I just came from El Paso, Texas, where there's a federal facility. It's actually a camp. And Don, it's the same place that Japanese Americans were interned during World War II, illegally and unconstitutionally, because they were Japanese Americans. That same place is being used now as a detention facility for immigrants, most of whom have never committed a crime. Repeat for emphasis. These are people that have not committed a crime.
That is what rational people are thinking. That's a common sense, very smart approach. But that guy is not all hopped up on hate and retribution. And so those things will never happen, because Donald Trump is just an angry, old, decrepit, fat, out of shape, unhealthy, sick man. And the fish rots from the head. And so America, which is the fish, is rotting from the head because Donald Trump is the leader right now. So think about all the things that are happening. Renee Good just was shot, assassinated on the streets of her own city, where she is a lawful tax-paying person. And the Department of Homeland Security is putting out videos like this. Watch. So this is the video that happened just before the shooting. Now, the Department of Homeland Security put out this video taken by a citizen, but it is bizarre to me that just when the situation is happening, the video stops. And here it is. This is where it's about to happen. She backs up, she gets ready, she's, letting cars go by her, and then you'll see. right? Letting people go by. He's not blocking. There she is. She's trying to leave. And then that's when ICE shows up. And then all of a sudden you see ICE showing up. And then you see the part where she backs up and she tries to leave, and then boom. Why does it end right there? Now, does that look to you like someone clicked off of it? I don't know. It could be. Maybe she just stopped it right there. But this is a video that they're showing on conservative channels. Why is that fishy for you? Is that weird? I mean, just before it happens, maybe because it's an angle that will show exactly where the agent allegedly was, but we have the other angles. We'll see it. Is this part of the cover up as well? Look, it could be that the citizen, whoever shot it, that they just stopped right at the critical moment. When you see, if you're shooting a video and you see ICE agents or you see officers approaching a car, and then and that's when you stop the video, but you shoot all the stuff of just people driving down the street, and you shoot that, and then you don't shoot the last part.
Están abriendo un carro. ¿Ese es el suyo? ¿Cuál? Están abriendo un carro, la parte de atrás.
Sí, es el mío. El teléfono que venía
en la pierna. Dile que dispararon la puerta. Hijo, ven. Hijo, ven.
Okay. So put up what they're saying. I'm fluent in Spanish. What they are saying is that ICE was following the husband home, and when he got home, they shot him when they closed the door and shot him in the leg. That's what they're saying. They shot him because he went into his house and they were chasing him for a half an hour.
Attacking Greenland, or China attacking Greenland, would be like the Russians attacking Italy. It's a NATO country. Article 5 applies. I suspect. I mean, first, I always suspect Trump doesn't understand a word he's saying most of the time. Remember, this is a guy who thinks Greenland is huge because of the way maps are drawn, and doesn't understand Mercator. Seriously, I mean, I don't
might
think
be right. I never thought about that. He doesn't understand.
He pointed to it's massive. It's
we
massive.
wouldn't be the biggest country. Africa would be a lot bigger on the map if they really showed the size. But sorry,
Greenland's bigger. Clearly, Greenland's bigger than Africa. Okay. I think someone has also put into his ear, minerals and oil and mineral rights, and we're all going to get rich off of this somehow. But this national security argument is complete nonsense. We've had a military presence in Greenland for decades. And, we've worked closely with the Danes, and it's part of the North Atlantic Security Arrangement, which is why they're all part of the North Atlantic Treaty Organization that Trump is trying to destroy. He simply wants it. I think part of the reason he wants it is because someone told him he can't have it. Mm-hmm. I think that's part of his personality. When someone says, you can't do this, you can't have this thing, he says, well, now I have to have it, or I'll break it. It's like dealing with a child with oppositional defiance disorder. I mean, that's just how he thinks. And I think he's still mad. You can see in his second term, he's still mad about things that people who worked for him told him he couldn't do. So now that he's back in, he wants to do all those things.
What do you think? I mean, you've got people like John Kennedy, and is it Tom Tillis? Tom Tillis is saying, he said yesterday that this was about Powell. But also, I mean, it's others. Tom Tillis talked about Powell and how he wanted to withhold funds if he tries to prosecute Powell, if he goes through with this for appointees. John Kennedy says it is a terrible, dumb, stupid idea. It was the dumbest idea. I'm paraphrasing here. And then there are others on Greenland who are disagreeing with him. But is that going to make a difference at all with Donald Trump?
It won't to him, but there are things that, I mean, if the Republicans if just a few Republicans join with Democrats and pass a law saying you can't invade Greenland, then I actually think any order to invade Greenland is already an illegal order, but if it has an additional force of law, yeah, that does change things.
So someone in our chat here, the Lemon Nation, said, sexy activism. I like it. And and I think it's sexy activism as well. Do you really have people there who are afraid to go outside, afraid to go to the grocery store because of what's happening?
Yes, absolutely.
Why are you guys doing it? How'd you get the idea?
So I lived here in 2020. I lived like a mile from the precinct that burnt. And when that happened, along with the precinct, all of the grocery stores in my neighborhood were also like smashed out. So there was a food desert, and there were still families that needed to eat, people that were in a pandemic needing diapers, needing to take care of their families. So we started a project called the Phillips Free Store with another organizer named Alex Gomez. And I was just helping out volunteering. I learned how to do that. And then when these needs popped up here with our neighboring business that started doing food distribution out of their empty kitchen because of their employees who were afraid to come to work due to ICE presence in Minneapolis, I thought, well, they need food, but they also need like diapers, baby wipes, medicine. All of those things are still a need, especially when you can't leave the house. So we're located in a pretty central neighborhood of Minneapolis with a ton of immigrants who live here, and the need is still there. So I just called up all my people and was like, let's plug in and let's get these people fed and get their resources, fresh diapers on babies, etc.
You know, they monitor everything. They'll be watching this. They'll see it on social media. And what happens? I mean, surely
We don't
ICE
care.
Okay, go on.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we're gonna keep
Tell me
doing what
about
we're
it.
doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've just been thinking like, it might be spicy to say, but the ICE agents really seem to have no humanity, and I would love to blow them away with ours. Going to homes indiscriminately and terrorizing people in their neighborhoods and jobs is not something that I agree with, and I would like to do the opposite of what they are doing.
But you see the things out there where people believe that there should be more, should be more action. They talk about the Second Amendment, and this is what it was written for, a tyrannical government, blah, 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 blah. And you believe that that is a dangerous road to go down, even though there may be some, there may be some truth to it as to what the amendment, the Second Amendment was written for, it was for. But you don't believe that we should be going down that road right now.
I told you, and I believe that our home is our castle. And if an individual, I don't care who he is, I don't care what uniform he puts on or how big a gun he's carrying. If someone breaks into my home, I have the right to defend my home, even with lethal force. So don't open your door. You shouldn't let strangers into your home, and certainly masked individuals with weapons, faces covered, refuse to produce a warrant, don't have any identification on them. Do not let them into your home. Now, what's going on in the streets? I think we're getting to the point, Don, where more than civil disobedience is required. I know there are individuals who are maybe younger than I am that are even more risk takers than I myself am. But there may be a time to I don't really want to say it, but there may be a time to escalate, because if our words are not enough, if standing up and speaking out and coming out by the thousands and the millions to resist the administration is not enough, then we're going to have to amp it up. I just don't think that as a lawyer, I should be the one to speak about how that can and should happen. But clearly, this is a regime that is out of control, that is using rhetoric from the 1940s, and that is very dangerous.
There's really no need to think anything other than that they're always lying. And I don't know what we're going to do to come back from this. That's what I'm scared of. I mean, I hope
we're
there's
going to
a
talk
group.
about that. I wanted to stick to this thing. We're going to talk about that a little bit later on the show, but I want to stick to Caroline Levitt. Okay, Standby Legends, more Caroline Levitt. Now, this is one that is also going to infuriate you. She was asked about asking about her death. Oh, the media for ICE. She blames the media for the ICE violence. Here it is.
Look at some of the images out of Minneapolis last night. Look at this vehicle. Look at what it says. It says F ICE. You have these individuals who are putting their middle finger, proudly so, at the camera. Another ICE a vehicle that was vandalized last night by these left-wing agitators. People don't do this without encouragement from people in power who make them feel like it's okay. Here's another one. And I'm pretty sure this car, you can't see it, said the best agent is a dead agent or something to that effect. This is despicable rhetoric that we're seeing, and the media is absolutely complicit in this violence, because if you look at the headline from CNN, protests erupt after federal agent shoots man in Minneapolis, that is not the story, that is not the truth. If you actually want to know the truth, you can look at what the Department of Homeland Security released, which is that this ICE agent was executing a targeted operation against a Venezuelan illegal alien who was unlawfully present in the country, who fled by car and then fled by foot. And when this ICE agent tried to detain the individual, 3 more of his comrades came rushing out of a house and started ambushing and attacking the ICE agent. They used a shovel or a broom to smash his face in. And so yes, that agent had to use self-defense and take up his weapon to protect his own life. That is...
Caroline Levy, you should be ashamed of yourself. And you should believe the Department of Homeland Security. Come on now. Kristi Noem and you guys lie with almost every time you open your mouths. Are you kidding me?
Almost.
That was a joke when she said, you shouldn't believe the media. You should believe, yeah. They tried to detain a person. There were protesters there. And then the guy got shot. I didn't see anything wrong with the story. That's the truth. But that's the narrative they want out there. They want everything to be placed into their narrative. And that's not what's happening. They want the media to be like clapping seals, right? That's what they want. And just to be stenographers for the administration. And then there is outstanding podcasts, society and culture. And Wondery is just big. Kiki Palmer. This is Kiki Palmer, baby. I love it. Baby, this is Kiki. Baby, it's Kiki. I forget what her little thing is. I love Kiki Palmer. You guys know that. That's Wondery. That's a big thing. I think Wondery is it part of Spotify? Something like that. And then Higher Learning, Van Lathan. That's great. It's The Ringer. It's also a Spotify thing, sponsored by a big thing. And then there's Michelle Obama, Craig Robinson, Higher Ground, which is great. Their thing. And then The Don Lemon Show, Lemon Media Network. And then What Now with Trevor Noah, which is Day Zero production. So most of these are big production. I think all of them are big productions. And then, so yeah, I think that's it, right? I think that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. Yeah. So I had no idea. Thank you, Reese, for sending this. Thank you, Social Guys, for sending this. But this is pretty amazing. Even if we don't win. Come on, guys. So look, thank you for your support. That's why I always tell you, like, this is a community that you actually have a voice in. I read your comments. I take them into considerations. Many times we turn on a dime. If you have a great story that we want to talk about, we look at the comments and we say, people want to hear about this. Oh, someone said this is happening. Let's check this out, and we'll turn on a dime. And then if you're a member of a certain tier, you actually get to be on the show. The legends are on the show, and they're talking to me. They're telling me to shut up. They're talking over me, and I love it, because that's what it's about. They're telling me how they love the community, what it has meant to them, if they want something different or more, to stop talking about this, we're sick of Trump, whatever it is. This is part of a community, and that's the difference, and I believe that's what's working. It's not just me talking at you all the time. Okay. And so we have to learn to, sometimes I love the haters to be in the thing, because then I realize we're actually making a difference. Okay. John Kennedy says it is a terrible, dumb, stupid idea. It was the dumbest idea. I'm paraphrasing here. And then there are others on Greenland who are disagreeing with him. But is that going to make a difference at all with Donald Trump?
It won't to him, but there are things that, I mean, if the Republicans if just a few Republicans join with Democrats and pass a law saying you can't invade Greenland, then I actually think any order to invade Greenland is already an illegal order, but if it has an additional force of law, yeah, that does change things. I think a big part of what's going on, I hate to sound, because Don, you know me, I am deeply disapproving of conspiracy theories, but I still think a big part of all this is he's still freaking out about the Epstein files. And he is just he's just lashing out in every direction. Look over here, look over there, pay attention to this, look at that squirrel, knowing that most of these things will never pan out. I mean, but I thought it was very encouraging in the case of Powell that Powell stood right up to him and that you have Republicans saying this is a bad idea. So I think going back to this earlier kind of case for optimism that I was making, I think his flexes are not having the same effect that they used to have. And I think that that's probably a good sign. So this kind of opposition, he may not care that much about it, but it does put institutional barriers in his way that do matter.
What you all are witnessing right now, that video is ICE agents breaking into the home of a black family without a warrant. And they took this man into custody. He's been in custody for over a week. Now, yesterday, a judge ruled that this break-in right here that you all are seeing was unconstitutional. I mean, they're just running in our homes, untethered. I mean, it violently. You all see the weaponry that they're using. They bust in, they tore the house up, they dragged the man out, and a judge has just ruled yesterday that they have until, I believe, 11 a.m. today to release that man. Thank God.
He's still in custody, and still in custody, as you just mentioned.
He's still in custody. They're supposed to now. I'm hoping that they would respect the rule of law. The judge has ruled that this break-in right here that you all are witnessing was unconstitutional. You all did not have the right to enter into that home. You all did not have the right to take that man out of that home and take him into custody. And you all must release him today. That is what the judge ruled, and we will see if they release him.
I've got to ask you, we see these reports that are coming from the Department of Homeland Security about they're saying these officers, or whatever you want to call them, agents, they are being attacked. They are being attacked. And when I look at the video, I don't see any agents being attacked. And when I look at the video of what happened to Miss Good, sadly, I don't see the agent standing in front of a car. I see the agent shooting her from the side of the car. Is there any credibility? I don't think there's any credibility from the Department of Homeland Security. I'll just say that. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I don't believe anything that they say.
Yeah, I mean, it's very clear.
Do you believe what they say?
I don't believe. I mean, I have eyes. We all have eyes. Here in Minnesota, officers cannot place themselves into a situation in which they're now in jeopardy and they must use force, right? So they cannot do that. We also have state laws that dictate that you cannot shoot into a moving vehicle. It is exceedingly hard to hit a moving target. And that means if any of them bullets would have missed, some people are also saying things like, some of our community, some of our African-American community, that this has nothing to do with us, that, we're going to stand on the sidelines. Imagine if any of them bullets would have missed. Let's say you was at home in your living room, you decided to mind your business and disregard everything that was happening outside. That bullet from that federal officer could have missed her head, well, all of them went into her head, and could have come into your living room and have taken your life. Just the absolute disregard of our state laws. Our state law says you cannot shoot into a moving vehicle. And he shot multiple rounds into a moving vehicle, even a kill shot off to the side of the vehicle. Once in Minnesota, we also have a state law that says every single decision of use of force must be justified. And that means each of those shots are going to be reviewed on their own to see if each shot can be justified, even if they try to make an argument that the first shot is seemingly justified. The second and the third, and I'm hearing that there was potentially a fourth shot, but 3 shots certainly went into her face. Each of those instances of use of force in Minnesota must be justified. Part of the reason why I'm such an expert on this topic is because I've been part and parcel of the use of force movement and helping to restructure and create more accountability in the use of force here in Minnesota. In fact, Governor Walsh several years ago had me be part of a commission in which we were trying to reduce deadly police encounters. It was chaired by Attorney General Keith Ellison and also by the Commissioner of Public Safety. And we came out with a number of reforms, including limiting the usage of force. This shoot right here was not justified in any way, any shape, or any form, in my opinion. And certainly those side shots were illicit and illegal, and this person needs to be arrested. This person needs to be prosecuted. This has to happen. Unfortunately, the federal government has made a determination that they're not going to cooperate with any of our law enforcement, not the local municipality, which is MPD, not the county, which is the Hennepin County Sheriffs, and not the BCA, which conducts most of our use of force analysis here in Minnesota. They've made a decision to unilaterally investigate and to not participate with our law enforcement at all, which puts our county attorney and our attorney general in a position where they will not get a file in order to make a charging decision.
So that was the week. Not to leave you angry, but to leave you informed. Not to leave you stuck, but ready and inspired. Because knowing the truth is only the first step. What matters is what you do with it. Of course, we're going to be back live every weekday at 10 a.m. and 5 p.m. And I want you to be informed without being inundated. And until I see you then, turn the TV off.